how have you two been coping during COVID? How's it been for you guys managing a business, managing each other, managing a home? How have you been coping?
Well, I would say it's a lot easier than most people have been coping, to be honest. I don't think we can really complain as such. I mean, during the height of the pandemic, I ended up quitting my job and focusing on the businesses, because it was difficult to continue traveling to and fro from work while the pandemic was still, going on, the height of the pandemic, where no one was traveling, but I was still traveling to and from work. So I thought, obviously, it'd be good to focus on the business and focus on our stuff. I mean, as you were saying, this is the best opportunity to be able to do things with
focus your attention.
Focus your attention.
So I mentioned to you before the call that I am of Irish and Jamaican descent. My thank you. That's another reason I find it so fantastic what you guys are doing. My mum's side is from Wexford and my dad's side is from St Andrews in Jamaica. But growing up, I don't know if you experienced this, but I felt like certainly in the 80s and 90s, everyone who was mixed race that I knew was Irish Jamaican. What is that about? What do you think this where does this connection come from? Where does this, and I guess that leads into why you founded More Blacks, More Dogs, More Irish, but where do you think this connection comes from?
Well, there's two reasons in my mind. So the first reason is probably the real reason, which is obviously the Windrush, so is the immigration side of things. So we were both immigrants to the country around the same time. So we were new to the land, you were new to the land, we were both fucking aliens in somewhere that we weren't really typically wanted as well. So we had a common ground on that. So we came together for that basis alone. And I mean, there's also where we came together and we realized the similarities that we had, and the type of people we were. I've always told that Jamaica is like a hot Ireland, so.
And
nice.
And also because of the racist aspect of things when Irish people and Caribbean came to the country. So my granddad used to talk about how he had a neighborhood of Jamaicans on one side and Irish on another. And they both used to get bombarded by English guys.
Boot boys.
I don't know what they were called, but threats and everything. And they said literally they came together to defeat, because it was a kind of like a neighborhood of just these two cultures. So I think that's
that was where Birmingham, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, it was somewhere up there. Yeah, so I think that's also an aspect of it as well, because of the hardship, of coming to this country at the same time. It's the integration.
And we both like hard workers, hard drinkers, hard everything. You know what I mean?
Do you think there's shared values between the two cultures in terms of family, religion, household setup? I mean, me personally, I feel there is a lot through my experience, my Irish family and my West Indian family. But what do you think? Do you think there's those shared cultural values, and is that something that brought you two together?
Well, to be fair, first off, there's definitely shared cultural values, and they were deep rooted from probably hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We only realized them when we started coming together, And it's like you're talking to one. If I'm say with my Caribbean mates, my Jamaican mates especially, it's like I'm at home with the boys back home as well. So there's no real difference, really and truly. There's none. Like I feel at home around these people as much as I would around people back in Ireland.
Yeah.
So like there's the carry on, the way people are family orientated.
What about the religious?
The religious aspect, well, not 100%. I wouldn't say that. I mean, there is strong Christian background on some Caribbean families, but not all of them.
Mine's a Jehovah's Witness background.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we won't go into that one.
These two amazing cultures often get boiled down to really stereotypical, gimmicky characters. And do you think that's something else that plays into it? Because that conversation further went on, and I thought, why is it okay for people to do a beer can Jamaican accent or a top of the morning to you? It feels like these cultures have become very much like commodities. Is that something that you agree with, and you think is it maybe another reason that binds the two together?
To be fair, only yesterday we were saying, like, for two of the smallest countries in the world, yeah, to produce so much and to give so much to the world. I mean, that's just, you know, like Jamaican people and Irish people, they've got a sense of humor. Yeah, they don't take everything to heart. So we can brush it off. It just depends on the angle that it's coming from, you know. So, for instance, certain people could call me Paddy because I know there's no malice in it at all. But there's another type of people, if they were to call me Paddy in a different way, I'd know exactly where that's coming from. And it's not coming from a term of endearment. It's coming from, hey, Paddy, you know, like, do this, nabby Paddy, all that sort of carry on. So, like, we don't take things to heart. Yeah, so I wouldn't really, it doesn't really play on me. But if you want to go deep seated, like, remember all those images and all that, like, of leprechauns, and before that there was, like, in America they had pictures of like, we'll say, inbred looking Irish people, cartoon characters that they used to put on the newspapers all the time. They used to call us muck savages, you know. So it's deeper than that, really, if you want to go back to that. Gollywogs, muck savages, exactly all that. Yeah.
But I also think the stereotypes today are reflected a little different. So it's a bit prouder at the same time.
Yeah, it's cooler, isn't it?
Yeah, it's prouder, obviously, with the Rasta caricature kind of thing. Because when you go to different countries, they're always selling the Rasta hat with the dreads. You know, no matter what country you go to, they're selling it. So that's how. Yeah, that's how they're also representing, you know, the Caribbean in different countries at the same time, because they're, you know, it's a bit like the leprechaun. I think it's
for the Americans.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, they're a little bit more prouder, you know, to be represented that way, even though it stems from a stereotype. That's
on that point. I wasn't actually. This is not the direction I was going in, but this is a really great point to raise. What do you think about appropriation versus appreciation?
Well, I think culture always ends up being a trend. They will take something and then use it for either fashion, music, or anything like that. But I think appropriation is when you've taken something without appreciating the creators in the first place.
Yeah, not acknowledging the people, the original people.
You know, where the inspiration is coming from. It was a bit like, for example, the recent one, which was Jamie Oliver's Punchy Jerk Rice. You know, he literally had taken something that was of Caribbean heritage without even saying where he got any inspiration, and he even did it incorrectly. So there was no appreciation in the first place. He put ingredients in there that weren't, you know, related to jerk. You don't get jerk rice. But if he then came out and said, oh, he was inspired by, you know, the recipes of Jamaica. I mean, he's done it before with Spain, with paella and stuff. If you're not recognizing the creators of something in the first place, then that's when it becomes appropriation. If I take another culture and say I'm inspired, I like the way they do things and things like that, and show representation at the same time, I'm not stealing their ideas, I'm not stealing their creation, I'm showcasing their creation to others. Whereas if they can't at the same time showcase their creation, I'll do it for them. You know, that's appreciation of a culture.
You always have to give an ode to where you got something from anyway, you know? If it's not your idea, you have to obviously give a props to the people that you got the idea from anyway.
I think that's a really good point. And I think it's actually down to the minority that's been appropriated to say, we co-sign on that. We think that's okay. It's not for the majority to say, oh, well, we weren't being mean, or we weren't, you know, we did this in good faith. No, it's actually up to the oppressed minority to say, we allow you to do that.
I'll tell you, there's a guy at the moment, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I'll tell you at a later stage. He's a multi-millionaire young guy, like a playboy, and he's trying to buy up the whole of Brixton at the moment. So basically what he's done is he's trying to buy out one of the first original Caribbean markets that's on Atlantic Avenue, right? His whole idea is to buy the whole lot of Atlantic Avenue. I think he's like put in £3 billion into it, like, between him and his family and a couple other people. But in the same week that he did this, he brought out a dance tune called Reggae Boy or something, right? And he has like a video for the track, and he's got like his DJ in there. I mean, they're three white guys, and they've got that stereotypical, one of them's got the hat on with the dreads and that, and you're thinking, you know, like, you're taking away from Brixton the stuff that you're portraying right now in your music, like. You don't see the sense in it now. You know, it's ridiculous.
But let's take things way back. Let's go back to No Blacks, No Dogs, No Irish, which we're here to talk about, this exciting brand that you've created, really. So I know it had its kind of conception or inception before 2016, but it was in 2016 when it really went viral, when DJ Swiss from So Solid wore it and it kind of became this thing. I mean, talk to me about the origins of where it came from, why it became, why you felt it needed to go up a notch and become this brand that it's become.
Well, I'll tell you really that, to be honest, it was all by chance really at the time. You know, time, and sometimes the universe lets things play out when it's its time. So I had done it originally myself, maybe before 2011, and it's just a thought that came to my head, and I put it on a T-shirt, and I was thinking, you know, like from my experience.
Why did the thought come to your head?
Because of my experience and the way I saw things, I thought, well, if you don't like this and it's something that I do like, then I'm going to make it known that instead of no, there's more of us now, yeah, and there's more history behind it. So on the back of the T-shirt it says "Know Our Story," so it can be interpreted as "Know Your History" or "Know Our Story." Those that know the actual story will read the back of the T-shirt and immediately they will see "Know Our Story." Other people will see it as "Know Your History." So I'd done it myself, and I was getting quite a bit of abuse when I done it originally, and I made a couple of T-shirts just for me and my friends, and that it wasn't as in bold writing at the time, but so I redone a fresh one maybe like 2015, and I was wearing it in Brixton, and DJ Swiss from So Solid, he asked to get a picture with me wearing it, and he put it on Instagram, and the following week we were walking through Brixton again. The two of us wearing a T-shirt and the dogs, like it looked like a stage photo, but literally the guy was like, "Please let me get a picture," you know. So he stopped, took a picture, he put it on Brixton Buzz, and between the two of that, then it just took off. I think like about maybe within the week, it gone viral. We were on the Jamaican Gleaner, we were in the paper in America, we were in the Tipperary Star back home. It went wild.
I think it also went viral because of what it
Brexit times as well.
What it represented. Sorry, I think it went viral because of what it represented at the same time, because people who knew the original signs or even heard about the signs, although a lot of people say the signs didn't exist, knew what it represented, and then it was a conversation piece of people who didn't know what it was about. So you had to explain that obviously this stemmed from the 60s up until the 80s, that this was a sign put up within, you know, mostly obviously in London, but it was the Brixton area because that's where the majority of the Caribbeans were at the time when it came to Windrush.
Yeah, it was, and it was, we know a chap whose own grandmother had it up in their B&B in Great Yarmouth. So we have people who actually, on both sides, people who saw the signs, and even people who were honest enough to say, you know what, my grandmother had that sign on her bed and breakfast in the 70s. So it's an empowering T-shirt as well, you know. Like Tareen said, it's a conversation piece. So if you don't know what it is, you're going to be intrigued, yeah. And if you do know what it is, it brings a smile to people's faces, and they're like, "Yeah, this is the fucking shit," like, you know.
I think it's such an important. Everything you just said is amazing, but I think another thing I would like to add to that, if you'll permit me, you are delivering a message to younger people who will have no idea about, just as cultures, and just as, you know, Irish and Jamaican people, what the journey was like, and they may, you know, their grandparents might not be around anymore. So that kind of chain of storytelling is broken.
There was one occasion we were stopped on the street in Brixton by an elderly couple, and they said, like, "Can't you just leave it in the past? Like, why are you doing this?" And we were like, "We're doing it differently, don't you? Can't you read it? It says more. It doesn't say no. We're turning a negative into a positive, you know, and we're reinforcing it. So rather than brushing something under the carpet, we can keep it, you know, and just do it differently and still explain it." Like you said, because a lot of the younger generation, they had no idea. They didn't know. But last week, even there's a guy, I'm sure the young lad's only about maybe in his late 20s, if that, and he's brought out a track, and it was "No Blacks, No Dogs, No Irish" as well. So with music in it as well, there's a lot of people that are still mentioning it along the way as well. We've got a guy in Belfast who done a track, "More Blacks, More Dogs, and More Irish." There's another UK grime artist who done one last week as well. So that it is current, and we're not going to stop pushing the message anyway. So like you said, the more it's in your face, the more people will learn. They'll have no choice but to ask questions.
I'm going to go back to the question I said, because I didn't think I got the answer that I wanted, about why there is this connection, why Irish people, not all Irish and Jamaican people, there's certainly this attraction. outside of the shared history, do you think it's perhaps there's something as simple as Irish people come over, maybe weren't exposed to people that look like this before, and same for Jamaican people, and there's there's just a physical attraction?
I mean, I can't talk for them in those days, but I mean, if it's the way I feel now, then guaranteed it's the way they felt then as well. You know, there is the attracted to the unknown, like you said. You know,
and it's also the accent, because the accent could be slightly similar as
yeah,
well.
Okay,
that's a one, a big part. It's a big part. Oh, just they sound like us.
And it's the laid back attitude at the same time. So I think both cultures have this, everything's cool and everything's not, because in this country you've got sort of like a rushy buzz to get everywhere and get to places. You can't take that out of an Irish person, you can't take that out of a Jamaican person. It is always going to be the laid back style. What's the rush, what's the hurry, we're doing when we're ready kind of thing, which is, it's the same way with the stereotype of Black people's time. Black people.
That logic, I should just not move anywhere. What do you think of the situation of race in this country? And obviously being by interracial relationship, and granted it's in a very multiracial part of London, but I'm sure you've been to other places and certainly felt something or experienced something like what do you think of race in the UK and the current kind of status quo with that?
Well, maybe let you go.
I was going to say, although you say London is a multicultural place, a hub where everyone is, I also think that there could be slightly more racism in London than there is outside of London.
Well, it's not as in your face.
It's not as in your face. That's the problem. I think obviously when we've gone other places, we do get a bit of stares, because not only because we're black and white, but obviously our looks, most people don't put us together, but it is less intimidating than in London, if that makes sense, because of the fact that there's so many cultures. They might not see a majority of interracial relationship as much, back home from where they're from. So that's my obviously thought process of being.
I mean, so there's as a interracial couple, we don't see it what people see, because we're just us. You know what I mean? So there's some people will look. I mean, I'm a people person. I watch people all the time as well. So sometimes I have to check myself and think like, they're looking at you the same way you look at people, Rich. Like they don't see like two people like that, and they might think to themselves, "Oh, they look nice," or "They look like a nice couple." But you don't think that like originally, if you've come from somewhere where you've been told, "Oh, what are you doing together?" or this and that. But
he also said that we don't see it, but sometimes we can feel it based on other people's interaction with us, and you don't realize, oh shit, it's like they make us feel like we have to check ourselves when effectively we shouldn't. When my sister went to Barbados, they automatically thought she was from Brixton, because Brixton seems to be the hub of where Black people are from, basically in the UK. They're not to be seen anywhere else.
Well, I would also say as well that I mean, if you're coming from the mind of someone who doesn't really want to delve any deeper into like where people come from in general, then you're going to expect that from them anyway. If they don't know the difference between dialect or between people's features or the tone of someone's skin or their accent, then really and truly you can't expect anything from them anyway, because they're just Black people, boom, put them in a box over there. Irish, put them in a box over there. Asians, put them in a box over there. Like you said, there's so many variations of humans in general that for anyone with an open mind or with common sense really and eyes to see, they would know well there's so many like, oh, you can't say this and you can't say that because those might get offended by this and these people might be offended by that. So really and truly, I don't really bother with those type of people myself personally, because I just think they're small-minded people, So you can't expect a whole lot from certain people. So why bother?
No, I think that's a really good point. You can only, in that sense, life's a bit too short. You can only do what you can do to make. What's the great quote? Don't try and change the world. Change the world. Don't try and change the world. Change the way you interact with it. You do just like what you guys are doing. You're changing what's kind of you can within your vicinity. So let's go on to more Blacks, more dogs, more Irish. This fantastic brand that you started. What's coming up? What's next? Where can we buy the product? I'm going to insert some pictures, people can see it, but tell me what's next. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What's next in the plan, the business strategy?
Well, I think we want to. There's two different things because we've got a kind of a couple of businesses, but with Irish and Jamaican, we want to turn it into a brand of anti-racism, anti-prejudice slogans. We don't just want to stick to more blacks, more dogs, more Irish, but that's obviously the focal point because that's where it got us. But it wants to be statements that represent everyone, because there's a lot of people that feel, I've had a lot of emails that say they don't know whether to wear the t-shirt because they're not black, they're not Irish, but it's not just for black people. It's a statement to be, we're on the side of, you know, anti-racism and representation. So we also want to put that into other t-shirts so people don't have to feel a certain way, you know, wearing the more blacks, more dogs, more Irish. We want to take it into an official brand.
During the summer, we done a t-shirt that said "One love, one race, one blood." Yeah. Now that was just a term for inclusion for everyone, you know, just to say that, look, you can still purchase something from us, and you can still share a message of unity without having to wear the more blacks, more dogs, more Irish.
Wearing it.
Yeah, because like Taryn said, a couple of people like, oh, I don't feel comfortable wearing it now that I wore it. I'm getting a lot of looks. And I'm trying to say, that's the whole point. This is the point. People are supposed to look,
to
and
open up
they're
other
reading
people's
it.
eyes,
You know, and you can help spread the message and explain to people. You can be part of that process, you know, of breaking things down for people. Clothing wise as well, what we're getting asked for quite a lot, which we will be doing this year, hopefully sooner rather than later, is children's clothes, because a lot of people want their mixed race children, especially, to be wearing it so they can show a representation to both sides of the family and to get other people asking questions, you know. So like you were saying earlier on about the younger generation not really knowing, that's a key move right there, you know. Is for people that will buy them and they'll have their kids in one as well. So the next generation have already got that one leg up the ladder, you know. I know plenty of people, their kids that might be maybe 8 or 9 or whatever, that they wear like the extra small t-shirts and that, and they wear them going to school last year and that. So that sort of stuff there. Maybe more so in the summer, you know, market stalls when and if we get back to some sort of
normality, as they keep calling it.
Because we did do market stalls last year until we got shut down and that. So I mean, just basically just keep going the way we're going, really, and just to maybe do something with some of the money in terms of we'll say being involved in community projects and stuff like that, you know, which we were before. So yeah, that's mainly what we want to do from that aspect. And obviously it's helped obviously us do other things as well as that, which we're grateful for. Tarina has her own skincare range, vegan skincare range, Nourish with Nature UK, and we import sea moss from Ireland as well. So really, like, let's
go through these. Let's make sure we're getting the promotion. So where can we find out about the skincare cream first of all, and the skincare range?
Okay, so I'm currently going to be launching the website in a couple of weeks, but currently I'm on an Etsy platform. So it's Nourish with Nature UK on Etsy. After that, I'll be moving on to my own website platform to make it easier. But yeah, you can find me on Etsy. Well,
the next part, do you think it's something about
we have the seamossboss.co.uk. So that is obviously we import sea moss, bladderwrack,
Irish moss,
spirulina, the proper Irish moss, you know. So that's obviously something which is big in the Caribbean as well, and in Ireland. So that's another part of what we represent as well, you know.
Where can we get hold of the t-shirt, and where can we find out more information?
Okay, so www.irishandjamaican.co.uk is the website
for the t-shirt.
For the t-shirts, and then Irish and Jamaican on Instagram.
Yeah, check us out on Instagram. There's all information on there. And
if you find one, you'll find them all on Instagram.
Yeah, we're all on Instagram.
It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you
very
much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Guys, check them out on Instagram. They have all the information there. It looks like they're building a business empire. So we'll out on that, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to them again. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, and take care.
All right,
Ryan, thanks a million.
Take care.